The Super Secret Sex Show.
Welcome back. You found us. It's the Super Secret Sex Show. You're going to learn something and maybe have a laugh or two. And now, introducing your co host, it's Tim.
What's up? Good to be back. Still yet going for the same look.
Tim, that was a hell of an entrance you just made.
Thank you. I prefer to drop in as much as I can, or I guess in this case, it was up from the bottom. One way or another, that's how I do. I did a show at Theater Lawrence. I don't recall if this was when I did Rocky or not, but there were a couple of instances with a person that I think they may have been drunk to a certain degree, but they were very, very kind of forward about certain things. Like at one cast party, they half flashed me. And
was it at least the good half?
Oh yeah, it was like one boob. Like it was enjoyable to see. While
I would count that as a full flash, but you know, I'm no mathematician.
I mean, I guess technically it's a full flash, but it's only like one section. So, which I mean, and they were also sitting on my lap at the time because they were comfortable with that, and I was perfectly comfortable with it. So that happened, and the same person later after another show. This was long after I think most of the people who had gone to the show had left the lobby, and they had come up to me and basically had bent down in front of me, almost grinding on my junk, and more or less asking for spanking, and that was more in a much public setting, which I was not comfortable with at all.
Tim, did you deliver spanky?
I did not. In that particular situation,
spanky refused.
That's right. I mean, I have no problem doing that in privacy, as I have.
Private spanky.
Reporting for duty. Is while I was in college, at one point, my significant other decided to do kind of not. I guess it would technically be a striptease to. I think it's Lady Gaga. It's the pyramid one. Like there's like a Black Dark Horse, maybe. I think that's the name of the song.
Yeah, that sounds like popular music, Tim. I'm not familiar.
But they decided to do that, and I actually like the next day I was sitting in class, and either that song came on from somebody's phone or something. I could not move for a while because my memory had retained what had happened the previous day.
When you say memory, I don't think you mean memory, Tim.
I mean, a certain part of me had a sense memory that didn't allow me to stand up.
Did this striptease happen in a public place, or was it just the two of you somewhere?
Thankfully, this was just a private, like in one of our dorm rooms.
Okay. Yeah.
Where it was just the two of us. Like that, I don't know that I would be comfortable doing that anywhere public. Like I know there are some people who do it like out, sex or just some, I cannot think of the words.
It's sex, Tim. The word you're thinking of, it's sex.
Oh, geez, I forgot. Sex or other sexual activities outside that I guess like part of that thrill of possibly being caught is part of the experience. I don't know that I could ever be quite comfortable with that. Just because if I'm going to be in that position, I'd rather be like super comfortable. And
I agree. There's a time and a place, and the place for me is usually where some random person who might be offended, or a child, or my grandmother cannot possibly see me. I don't want any of those people to see me. Like someone who doesn't want to see you should not be forced to see you because you're looking for a thrill. So
yeah, I agree.
Now there are places that you can go and have sex in front of other people who are consenting to that. So if that's your thing, you go do that. And you go to the swingers club. or whatever other sex club is close to you. That's the place for that. Not a public park.
Yeah, I just can't. And for me, like I can't imagine like wanting it so bad at that moment that I can't holster it for like a little bit longer to go back to a more private place.
Sometimes the holstering is the best part.
No, I agree. Like that the anticipation of sex is honestly some of the best part of it. Like that's why like foreplay is such a fun and kind of important part of sex in general. I feel like, because that's leading up to the main event, which for some people, you know, that might not last very long. I personally am a person that I don't know if it's because of my size in general, but at least in my limited experience, it lasted longer for me personally, the actual like sex part of it, rather than like the lead up to it.
You bragger. But what I heard I did hear you say that foreplay is important and should last. And you hear that, ladies? He's free. He's single. Come get it.
I absolutely think it's important that it's. I mean, especially I think really that is a part where you can, you know, you can be a bit more experimental with your partner, because there may be things that you want to try, or maybe they want to try. And I mean, there are plenty of those things that are like sex involved specifically, but you know, there's plenty out there that I think is just as arousing, and that ramp up to the actual activity of having sex, that can make that the whole experience more enjoyable in the long run.
Now, when you said experiment, the only thing I could think of is, oh, we're breaking out the goggles and the lab coats for this one.
Oh, yeah.
And then you said we were going to ramp up something, and I'm thinking, oh, jumpsuits and tire irons and race cars. Tim,
when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
So, Tim, I've curated some news articles from the week. Just yesterday, apparently in Seoul, South Korea, 1 in 3 adults reports that they have not had sex in a year. So that's 33% of the entire population of Seoul has not had sex in a year.
I mean, that makes sense. Given that there was a pandemic happening and a lot of people could go out and maybe meet new people, I think that's not, you know, that's not terribly surprising. Now, if these are people that a lot of them are within a relationship already, and that if they're not having sex in over a year, being in a relationship, there might be some underlying issues that they may want to discuss with either themselves or perhaps a counselor, as to why that is happening. I mean, if there's no chance, like let's say, I mean, if you have kids during the pandemic, it may be difficult to find time and a comfortable space to do that, where you know that you won't be interrupted.
According to this study, 24% of the women surveyed said they just weren't interested. So they were just not in the mood. 15% of all of those surveyed said they just could not find a sex partner, which, you know, as we talked about earlier in the week, who's finding new people to meet during a pandemic? I didn't.
Yeah.
And then other factors were you either living with parents, you didn't have the money to date somebody, you had to work too much, you had limited free time.
Those are all, I mean, from what I'm hearing, those are all fairly legitimate reasons. I mean, there's never really an illegitimate reason necessarily to not do that, as long as it's consensual.
The pandemic, I think, had a huge effect on people's ability to meet each other, especially toward the beginning. Nobody was going out anywhere. You know, everybody was having online dates, which, you know, talking to somebody online is fine, but it's nothing like meeting up in person. Like you and I, we've been talking online for over a year.
Oh, yeah.
You came to town a couple weeks ago, and it was way better to see you in person.
I agree. There's just nothing like in-person contact with somebody. If you're meeting somebody new, it's
You don't
harder, I
know.
feel like, to feel that connection.
And it's hard to know if you're meeting somebody brand new and you've only talked to them online. Like,
Yeah.
how seriously are they taking their COVID precautions? Are they vaccinated? Are they trustworthy? It's very difficult. It was very difficult. It's still a little difficult, although it's way
Hmm.
better than it was.
Oh, absolutely.
Tim, thanks so much. I had a great time talking with you today. Thanks so much for sharing all of your stories.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's being someone who doesn't necessarily get a chance to be as open about that in general. It's nice to talk about it with somebody.